Thank you, Professor Nityanand. You really set the tone in terms of our discussions today. That what we are discussing is leadership in the context of challenging the patriarchal social, political, economic system that is likely to work or not likely to work, and what should be the conditions that would make it work. I would like to first greet all of the distinguished speakers and all of us who have gathered, the so-called audience, um, who are contributing to this knowledge sharing assembly and on the International Women's Day. I think CSD has conducted these sessions earlier also, which I am very pleased to kind of thing. Even when I was not there, then also I had shared a session. So that is it is actually an ongoing effort, but certainly an effort to be noticed in this regard. And thank you, Poornima, Dr. Poornima, to taking all the kind of tasks for organizing it. So in a recent discussion on COVID-19, um, uh, one point that media repeatedly pointed out that under women's leadership of political processes and organizational structures, there were effective policies in relative terms to address the control of virus. When the women were leaders, state leaders, how the virus was controlled. So certainly a kind of attention was drawn that there are some kind of special ways of dealing with it. In India, the Kerala was Shailaja teacher was pointed out repeatedly. So, what kind of aspect of the leadership were there? Whether the more engaging work was done or something was there that pointed out. Our distinguished panelists, who are eminent in their respective fields of knowledge, would like to address these questions in my mind in their allocated time. How much allocated time we have for each speaker, Poornima? 15 minutes?
Yeah, ma'am. 15 to 20 minutes for each speaker.
Okay.
After which we'll have the discussion. Question.
All right. So, how have women? One question that comes to my mind is really with the request to speakers in their kind of when they are speaking. How have women and men been enabled through policies and strategies to deal with the basic needs and capability development? Capabilities, both basic capabilities and also the kind of advanced capabilities in the development process when the government says and the other policies also besides the government, social, civil society networks policies also, that how they have paid attention to the basic and advanced capabilities with regard to the women where they are working. Second question was that coming to my mind, what impact these policies have had on economic agency and rights of women, influencing day-to-day aspect of their lives. So that would be another important thing that once the policies were made, whether they had any impact. And policy, I'm using it a kind of very broad sense of the term as it because both the government and non-government institutions, organizations, citizens, they are really participants of the policy making. When these pressures are generated, then policies are made. And third question, I also wanted, I am requesting to the distinguished speakers to address today. Has there been change in inequalities in this country or region, South Asia region, both social and in both social and gender inequalities, and in closing the gap in gendered system related to power and resources? So these are the kind of terms in which we are looking at the impact in terms of when the women are leadership at various levels, then what kind of things they have taken into account. So thank you very much. With this request, I am kind of requesting the speakers to come to take over the charge. Professor Nityanand has kind of briefly addressed the speakers, but our first speaker is Dr. I will go by the order of as the flyer says. Dr. Venkat Narayana. He has done his master's and he is a political scientist. and is from PhD from the Center for Study of Law and Governance at Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. And he has traveled widely, including Eritrea and Pavia in Italy. And he has published research articles and authored books and chapters in national and international journals and publishers. And of course, he contributes to magazines like The Wire, The Hindu, Frontline, progressive kind of magazines known to us. So he is the first speaker. Second would be Professor Mythili, and she is assistant professor at the NUEPA and in Delhi, and she has been leading the research discourse in a school on leadership or school of what is that school leadership, and particularly related to gender and social leadership in the Indian context. She has also published women in school leadership by Sage and other kind of publishers. She completed her PhD from the Institute of Social and Economic Change, Bangalore. And before joining NUEPA, she has worked with the TIS, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Ajim Premji Foundation, and Center for Multidisciplinary Development Research at Karnataka. So she has these kind of various, a very broad range of coverage in terms of both her work and also the looking at the social systems. Then our eminent speaker is Professor Nitya Rao, who is a professor of gender and development at the University of East Anglia in UK. And Professor Nitya Rao is a researcher and advocate in the field of women's rights, employment, education for over 3 decades. She has vast experience of gendered change in land, agrarian relations, migration, livelihood, especially in the context of the climate variability and economic precarity. She has consistently engaged with policy and practice at both the global and local levels, and she is a member of these committees of the United Nations Committee on the Girls' Education Initiative for over a decade, and she currently is a member of the steering group of high-level panel of experts to Global Commission on Food Security. So this tremendous, and having had a kind of 25 years having had and have 25 PhD students who have completed under their research under supervision. So that is the distinguished speakers of today has very vast kind of experience and commitment to the question of looking at the commitment to the field of knowledge, particularly in the field of gender and development. So I would now really invite the speakers without interrupting them, now one after another, and then towards the end we can have questions. I don't think you would need the change of, you would need about stopping you, but please, if you can sum up in about 12 to 15 minutes your session, that would be good, so that one doesn't have to do the unpleasant task of that time is up. But if you need, we can remind you. Poornima, you can do that. Thank you. I think 2 minutes before that they complete, so something is not left. So thank you, Nitya, Professor Nitya Rao, that you really covered such a vast kind of thing, and I think the most important aspect you covered, that important thing that without recognition of knowledge you don't recognize the agency. So all kind of speakers have talked about patriarchy and agency, two words, and I was thinking that in brief we can discuss about what is patriarchy. Patriarchy is really, in terms of, it started in India, that in terms of as a movement work, but it really began to be, still have to do a lot of research on patriarchy, although some work has been done on Brahmanical patriarchy, which was referred in the first presentation, that was Venkat Narayana very well pointed out. But what is patriarchy? That would be really the male system, and or the male system's control over personal behavior, attitudes, then resources and decision making. So in brief, this is the kind of patriarchal structures that we are talking about, where some people are considered impure and some people are considered pure. So that's why this whole Brahmanical patriarchy comes. I'm putting in a capsule form, so it is not detailed because of the time. We have limited time. And the second is also in terms of the agency. Agency was referred in all kind of sessions. It was very very important. And agency is really having unmediated right to control and own resources. That what comes in one. Resources also include knowledge, freedom from fear of violence within home and outside. And third feature would be ability to think and act to secure strategic interest and, if necessary, to change gender norms. Decision making over their reproductive and productive work, including birthing and nurturing, and having representation and voice in society and influencing policy. Now, what we have been doing is the state is the domesticated agency. That means that women can have these rights but not touch really the patriarchal structures. That's what you all have been talking about, or we all have been talking about it, but particularly all three presentations pointed out that without kind of in crude language say rocking the boat, this has been done. So I think that these are the features that we can discuss, but before I think that I will not take time any in summing up, but let me take some burning questions because of the limited time. Sorry, I'm also very limited time because I have a appointment to take vaccine today and I could not change it. So that was the reason that I am also a bit rushed for such a wonderful presentation and very, very good.
We do not have any further comments and questions. I hope you all agree that we had a very interesting discussion. We started with how patriarchy works in our society, in our family, and how that kind of acts as constraint for women coming out, participating in workforce, and eventually taking up the leadership role. We also have seen, discussed that there have been situations where women are coming out in large numbers in a particular fields where women are a large number, but when it comes to leadership role, they are not chosen over men. Suddenly, men are considered to be the more appropriate for leading even the spheres where women are in large numbers. Now, this is also linked to what was coming from patriarchy, and not just patriarchy, but in a society where equality of opportunity is by and large absent. It's not just about women, but if you think about other marginalized section of population, be it Dalits, be it tribals, you will see a similar thing happening. They might come up to certain level, but then beyond that becomes difficult. But we have also discussed, women taking up leadership role in rural economy, in food security, and how they are providing leadership in a very difficult situation. So the crux, I think, is that the major challenge is that equality of opportunity, which has also been highlighted by the speaker, that whether it's women, whether it's Dalit, whether it's minorities, whether it's tribals, and people coming from poor background in general, who are not empowered to be, from their birth, always find it difficult to go up, So because our society is very feudal also. Now, unless we get into that, unless we ensure equality opportunity, unless we give equal education in terms of quality also to all, it's difficult to get out of all those things. So challenge is very huge. We have seen some progress, but of course that is not good enough. And hopefully we all would be, with our fight, we all would be able to bring a better situation in coming days. I would now request Poornima to formally give vote of thanks to our honorable speakers and other participants. Poornima, please.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, everyone. On behalf of CSD, I extend my deep sense of gratitude to Professor Nitya Nanda for his welcome note and for setting the tone for the discussion, and also for being kind to conclude the session as well. And I am extremely thankful to Professor Govind Kelkar for agreeing to chair the session and for the wonderful job done. And my special thanks are due to the three speakers like Professor Nitya Rao, Dr. Mythili, and Dr. Venkat for their perspectives, the examples given on successful women leaders in food security, and for raising our concerns on critical issues that has to be addressed. And I also express my gratitude to my good colleagues at CST and the fellow participants of this event. Thanking you all. Yeah.
Thank you, Poornima, for giving the opportunity. Thank you, CSD, for giving the opportunity. Ma'am, Nitya ma'am, got to see you on the panel, and I thank you so much. It was a wonderful listening to you, and as well as Venkat Narayana. Good to get in touch.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, CSD, and thank you, Director Poornima, everyone, and the speakers, Mythili ma'am and Nitya ma'am, everyone. It's really very good initiative, and hope we continue this dialogue for a long period.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Poornima, for organizing and getting in touch.
You all.
Thank you.
Thank you.